So for step 5, the spur gear, here are all of the parts you're going to need out of the bags and off of the different parts trees. So you can see these little guys, G3s, they're going to come off a parts tree that looks like that. And this gear right here, same thing, came off that same parts tree. And then there's another part here that comes off of a parts tree as well. And then, of course, here is all of the hardware that we're going to need, the E-clips, and then, of course, the bearings that are replacing the plastic and brass bushings. So we're going to first work on this large spur gear, fix that up, and then we're going to work on the idle gear here, and then we'll put this together with this propeller joint that we have to build as well. Before moving on to the next step. So let's start with this big spur gear. So first off, you can see that we're going to be putting a bearing into this. So let's do that. Let's put that bearing in place. Then there's going to be another one of the little bearings that's going to go onto the other side of that, just like that. And then we've got this M8 one, the larger shaft, which is going to be greased up and then go through that gear. So first of all, let's grease up this piece right here. In fact, I might just grease up this side first before I do the other, just so I'm not getting completely covered in it. So we're going to stick that through there and through the other side, and then it's going to go into this piece here, which, since they show it being greased up on this side, I think we'll do the same on this. I'm just going to throw some grease in there. And then put that into there. So that's more or less how that's going to end up looking. And then on that side, well, I think we've actually got enough grease just because it's been going through anyway, and we'll just push that together. So this is what that spur gear is going to look like when that's complete. So that one is done. Now we'll work on this idle gear. So for the smaller one, we're going to grease it up on this piece right here. Same idea as the bigger one. We're just going to grease up one end or one side first. Then what we'll do is we'll take it through, and of course you've got this bearing here, which is the smaller one. Put that into that idle gear, and I'll just slide that through. And we know we're going to put another one on that side. So essentially that idle gear has both bearings in it. And then we'll grab this piece, which actually it looks like this side's going to need a bit of grease, so we are going to put some in there. And stick that on. And then I can tell from the other side there's quite a bit of grease already, so I'll just spin it on and push. So now there is our idle gear put together, and the bearings are in there, so we are set with that one. So we can now move on to the propeller joint. So for this one, let's do the dreaded E-clip first. So as you can see, this is more or less how it's going to go, and the E-clip is going to fit on that side, and we'll use our handy pliers here. And it's on. So there we go. There is our E-clip. And then this gear here, you can see, is going to go on that way. So it's just going to fit right behind that E-clip. And then you can see that there's supposed to be a bearing. Then after it's on, we grab our little bearing and put it on. So it's just going to look just like that. And then you can see that we need to slide this one onto the other side so that it's going to sit just like that. Now you can see it shows the grease, and I think this time around I'm going to grease it anyway. I know that I normally wouldn't because we're using a bearing, but it's actually showing the grease pretty much on this bar all the way across, and the bearing technically is only taking up just a small bit of room, so we can put the grease on that whole thing, but it's going to sit like that. And then this here, and you can see the way this is fitting. You notice that you can see the rounded end is actually going on that way, and the open end is on the back side. So we want to put that end in because you can see that there's more surface area. This is kind of like just the end cap. You're going to put this onto here, and it's going to snap into place on that other ring area where we use the E-clip on this side. So if we snap this in, that'll be that. Snap. And there we go. So now we have the propeller joint piece in place. That's what it's going to look like. So we are finished with step 5. So we are going to be able to move on to step 6, which is now attaching that spur gear to the gearbox and then finishing off, putting on the cover so that the gearbox is now finished.